What is going on, Headliner Nation? Hopefully everyone's doing well out there today. Welcome to our quarterback and tight end rankings here for Week 14 fantasy football. This will be our last ranking show here that drops this week in Week 14, unless you're a member, right? Members get flex rankings, kicker rankings, defense rankings. We got you covered there. So if you're looking for those, consider hitting that little blue join button right underneath the video, but we're not wasting any time. We're getting right into the quarterback rankings. Number one this week, Josh Allen. Now, sure, the Bills have struggled off and on this season, but whenever they get together with the Kansas City Chiefs, one thing is for certain, offense is about to happen. And even though the Bills have struggled, Josh Allen continues to go out each and every week and put up some big numbers. He's at number one. Number two, it's Dak Prescott, one of the hottest quarterbacks in fantasy football. Now a matchup going up against Philadelphia, a team that is much easier to throw on than run on, so Dak's at number two. Number three, his opponent in that game, it's Jalen Hurts. And sure, it's not easy to throw against Dallas, but between the brotherly shove, the rushing upside, and all the weapons on offense, plus this game being played indoors, Jalen Hurts is at number three. Number four, it's Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami Dolphins, a great matchup going up against the Tennessee Titans. Tua's at home, and when Tua's at home, he throws multiple touchdowns. He's done it every home game this season. He's at number four. Number five, it's Patrick Mahomes. Not the same Patrick Mahomes we've had in years past, but once again, in this matchup going up against Buffalo, a must-win game for Patrick Mahomes. I got him right here at number five. Number six, it's Brock Do-em Dirty Purdy of the San Francisco 49ers. He's got that matchup going up against Seattle, and this offense is humming right now in San Francisco. With all of his weapons healthy, you gotta keep him ranked high. He's at number six. Number seven, it's Lamar Jackson. Off the bye week with a matchup going up against the Los Angeles Rams. We've started to see some bigger plays in this offense the last few weeks with the likes of Odell Beckham and Zay Flowers. Plus, hopefully they include a little bit more Isaiah Likely, so Lamar Jackson's at number seven. Number eight, it's Justin Fields in a matchup going up against the Detroit Lions. A great matchup for Justin Fields, one in which he dominated in just a couple weeks ago. Why not do it again? Justin Fields at number eight. Number nine, it's Jordan Love playing great football right now. Sure, Christian Watson is hurt once again, but Jordan Love has been producing all year long, despite not having Christian Watson all year long. Now a good matchup against the Giants. I got him at nine. Number 10, it's Russell Wilson. The floor's been super safe all year long, but now we get a chance at a ceiling game on the road in LA against the Chargers, and they allow some of the most fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks. I got Russell Wilson at number 10. Number 11, it's CJ Stroud. No, I'm not sleeping on CJ Stroud. No, I'm not a CJ Stroud hater. No, this is just a difficult matchup going up against the Jets. If the Jets do anything good at all here in 2023, it's limiting opposing quarterbacks. Add in the fact that we don't have Tank Dell, that Dalton Schultz isn't 100% healthy, and Sauce Gardner is going to be on Nico Collins. I'm just limiting expectations a little bit. He's still inside the top 12 at number 11. Number 12, that's where I have Justin Herbert. No, he's no longer Herbert, because right now when I say his name, I don't feel fancy. He's got a matchup going up against Denver, a Denver defense that's been playing better second half of the season. But the bigger problem for Justin Herbert is he's got one guy to throw it to, and now we have stupid comments coming out from Brandon Staley about maybe they'll give more backfield touches to someone other than Austin Eckler. Go ahead and chalk that up for one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, but for right now, Herbert's at 12. 13, it's Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions in that matchup going up against Chicago. Chicago just continues to force turnovers here as of late, and Jared Goff's ceiling is a little bit lower. What's great about it, though, is his floor is super safe. The guy's going to go out weekly, throw right around 225 yards, probably right around 2 touchdowns, and give you a Verge top 12 performance each and every week. That's why he's at 13. Number 14, then, it's Josh Dobbs, Minnesota Vikings in a matchup going up against Las Vegas, and Josh Dobbs gets back one of, if not the best wide receivers in football in Justin Jefferson, the return that so many people have been waiting for. But does he overly rely on Justin Jefferson? Does he still include Jordan Addison? How included is TJ Hawkinson in this offense? We haven't seen Josh Dobbs supply multiple high-caliber weapons like this before. What happens? We'll wait and find out. I got him at 14. 15, it's Gardner Minshew. He's got a matchup going up against Cincinnati, a Cincinnati defense that was taken advantage of through the air by Trevor Lawrence just last week. Gardner Minshew playing pretty decent football. I got him at 15. 16 is Baker Mayfield. Got a matchup going up against Atlanta. Really the biggest hindrance to Baker Mayfield in fantasy football is he only throws the ball to Mike Evans. Now, as a Mike Evans owner, we absolutely love it. The problem is his ceiling stays low because he's not utilizing other guys like Chris Godwin, so he's at 16. 17 is Jake Browning, Cincinnati Bengals, in a matchup going up against Indianapolis. Jake Browning was a huge surprise to so many people last week. And as much as I would love to throw him up closer to the top 12, I want to see what he can do against a defense that doesn't suck as bad as the pass defense of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Colts should be a little bit more of a challenge for him, so I got him at number 17. 18, it's Matthew Stafford. He's been playing great football here as of late, but all of his weapons are getting hurt. And then on top of that, he's got to travel on the road to play against the Baltimore Ravens, one of the best defenses in football. That's why Stafford's at 18. 19 is Geno Smith, surprised a lot of people last week. I look at that as more of a Will Ferrell old school moment where he blacked out and has no idea what happened because now he gets the San Francisco 49ers, and I don't know if I'm willing to risk it for the biscuit in an important week like this in fantasy football, so he's at 19. 20, I put Jameis Winston right here. I'm trying to speak this into existence. Now, Derek Carr has not been ruled out at the time of this recording, but I really hope they don't continue to trot out an injured quarterback when we got Jameis right here on the bench. Is Jameis going to throw some picks? Yeah, probably. And this isn't the greatest of matchups, but what we also know is Jameis Winston's going to throw the ball probably 15 times to Chris Olave. And as a greedy fantasy owner, I would love to see that. So right now, Jameis Winston's at number 20. 21 is Joe Flacco, came off the couch, played a game last week, and looked pretty freaking good. Now he gets that Jacksonville secondary. I don't hate Joe Flacco, but as of right now, we don't know if we're going to have Amari Cooper or not, so Joe Flacco's at 21. 22, Desmond Ridder. Great matchup for Desmond Ridder. Not a quarterback that I want to have to start in fantasy football, but once we get to this point of the rankings, it gets scary, and this matchup is really good. I got Desmond Ridder at 22. 23 is Will Levis in a matchup going up against the Dolphins. Not an easy matchup, but they're going to be losing. They're going to have to throw the football. And because of that, I'm hoping for 40-plus pass attempts. That's why Will Levis is at 23. And then 24, it's Tommy DeVito. He'll be going up against the Green Bay Packers. Not the easiest of matchups for Tommy DeVito, but Tommy likes to use his legs. And if Tommy can scramble for right around 30 yards and hopefully find the end zone, I don't think we'll absolutely hate it. However, I will say this. If you play in a 2-quarterback league and you're reliant on Tommy DeVito to get you into the fantasy playoffs, I would be lying if I didn't tell you I was worried about it. All right, that's going to do it for my quarterback rankings, but the rankings don't end there. Now we're talking about tight ends, the football kind, and throwing it over to Kyle.
What is up, Headliner Nation? The tight end position this week is feeling really weird. Doesn't feel as good as it did last week. Last week when I did my rankings, I saw like 10, 11 guys where I was like, yep, these are the guys that I really think could have a good week. And when I did this week's rankings, I was like, is there 5, maybe 6 guys that I trust? It just didn't feel great putting together this week's rankings. So best of luck to everybody out there if you don't own TJ Hawkinson, Travis Kelce, Sam Laporta, those top tier guys. Everyone after that could be a huge question mark this week, but enough talking about it. Let's do it. Let's talk about my top 18 tight ends and a few guys just on the outside looking in. All right, the top of the top, the elite of the elite, TJ Hawkinson, Travis Kelce, Sam Laporta. These feel like the 3 safest tight ends in all of football right now. You can mix and match these guys. If you have multiple of these guys, you can even flex one of them if you wanted to, depending on your other options. So when you take a look at the top 3 tight ends, these are the guys that everybody wants in their lineup and needs to have in their lineup. And then after that, there's a lot of question marks. 4, 5, and 6. And you heard me talk last week about the Taysom Hill line, right? So Taysom Hill is where you kind of get to the, hey, this is where I want the upside, but everybody else after that has a lot of question marks. So George Kittle at 4 going up against Seattle. We see the big playability. We see big plays and big games out of him, and then he tends to disappear at other times. He's one of the highest potential tight ends right now in fantasy football, but he also has one of the highest, or one of the lowest floors, because of all of the weapons around him. He could disappear at certain times, but his ceiling alone puts him inside the top 5 almost every single week. Jake Ferguson got a good amount of targets last week, and going up against Philadelphia this week, he definitely has a good shot to perform once again. Last time when Dallas played Philadelphia, there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of throwing the football, and Jake Ferguson was a huge part of that game plan. I expect a lot of that this week as well. And then Taysom Hill at number 6. So he is actually questionable right now. And as of this recording, there's not any type of a guarantee or really a strong feeling that he will or won't play. He's definitely limited right now in practice, but we'll have to see what happens this week. Going up against Carolina, he could be a really big piece of the plan and could really go as high as tight end 4 for me if Derek Carr misses and Taysom Hill sees more snaps at the quarterback position. But we're going to have to continue to monitor his status to see if he's able to get onto the practice field Thursday, Friday, or at any point before they play on Sunday. All right, moving forward at number 7 and beyond, a lot of question marks here, and we're going to cover all of those question marks in just a minute. But for Cole Kmet, his biggest question mark really is just consistency, right? With Chicago, you're going to run the football with Justin Fields. You're going to try and maneuver around and find open guys. DJ Moore is kind of that number one target. Cole Kmet has succeeded against Detroit before. It is at home. There's a lot of things working in Cole Kmet's favor, but you just never know with this offense what you're going to get. So for me, Cole Kmet at number 7, I think is a pretty safe ranking for him. Evan Ingram going up against Cleveland at number 8. Cleveland is a really tough matchup, and we don't know the status of Trevor Lawrence as of yet. Christian Kirk being out could definitely help Evan Ingram, but who's going to be throwing him the football? Dalton Kincaid at number 9. Dawson Knox is returning. So what does that do for the rotation at the tight end position? Does Dalton Kincaid go out wide more often again? Does he still continue to line up in the end line? How often is Dawson Knox actually going to be on the field? Lots of question marks to answer there with Dalton Kincaid this week. Isaiah Likely, not a bad game last week without Mark Andrews, but he's got other weapons around him that makes it hard for him to have a ton of upside. David Njoku at number 11 going up against Jacksonville. We saw with the younger quarterbacks, PJ Walker, DTR, both of those guys were looking to David Njoku quite a bit. And then all of a sudden, last week, Joe Flacco comes in and not necessarily as much. Do they get him back on track after a huge stretch of games where he was inside the top 12 tight ends more than anybody else? And then Pat Freiermuth at number 12. This is going to be a really tough matchup against New England, but once again, backup quarterback. Mitchell Trubisky, is he going to be throwing it to Pat Freiermuth? What's going to happen with that? Obviously, he's going to have a decent ceiling because if he becomes the number one option in the offense, you're all set. He's going to get 6, maybe 7 targets. But if Mitchell Trubisky forgets about him, he could have a really, really bad floor. And 13 through 18, it's just going to be a really big crapshoot here. Now, if Dalton Schultz ends up playing this week, he's going to go higher. As of this recording, he was still questionable with no guarantee of whether or not he was going to make it onto the field. So we'll keep an eye on that. He did have some practice on Wednesday with his hamstring injury. If he's able to play, Dalton Schultz will actually shoot all the way up to tight end 7 for me this week and go right in front of Cole Kmet. So continue to eye him over the course of the week. Gerald Everett going up against Denver. Denver's defense has been a lot better as of recent. What are the wide receivers going to look like? Will Josh Palmer make it back this week? Gerald Everett, really, if you want to bank on what his production would look like, I would say 4 receptions for 40 yards is kind of the baseline. Chigioco has over 100 receiving yards combined the past 2 weeks. He's definitely getting looked at more in the passing game. And this week going up against Miami, where Tennessee is going to be behind. They're going to have to be throwing the football. It's going to be negative game script for them. The only thing I can't get out of my head is the previous 11 weeks where Chigioco did absolutely nothing. Dallas Goedert at 16. It does look like he's going to try and play this week. No guarantee as of yet, but it does sound like he's going to try and get out on the field. Logged a pretty decent practice this week already. Said he was about 85 to 90% healthy. My worry for Dallas Goedert this week, though, is that he sees limited targets and he's more of a decoy than anything. Kyle Pitts, I don't really know what you want to say about Kyle Pitts. You throw him in here because he's got opportunity, but more times than not, he's going to finish lower than this. Kylen Granson at number 18, good week last week, and gets a Cincinnati team this week that is not very good against tight ends. Gave up Evan Ingram's first touchdown last week. Does Kylen Granson get a touchdown this week? Maybe not, but a performance kind of like what we saw last week with few receptions but high receiving yards could be in the cards. All right, now the guys on the outside looking in, yeah, they're all just risky options if you have absolutely nobody else to go with. Cade Otton continues to see more snaps than anybody else at the tight end position, but he doesn't see targets. Tyler Conklin has had a couple of good games this year, but for a majority of the season is just lost in the fold and doesn't get a decent amount of looks to put him into fantasy viable contention. Tucker Kraft, he's got touchdown potential this week going up against the New York Giants, but really not a ton of volume for me. Juwan Johnson at number 22. I don't know what was going on with him last week. A couple of really bad drops. He is questionable right now. We'll end up seeing who the quarterback is going to be. A little bit potential to maybe go higher than this, but after last week and those drops, I just don't know how many looks that he'll get this week. Hunter Henry could have some touchdown upside against Pittsburgh. Who knows? Bailey Zappi, maybe they'll start giving him some more looks. Highly doubt it, though, because that's just the way it's been all season. Tyler Higbee at number 24. Obviously, there's a lot of people banged up for LA right now. Tyler Higbee is one of them. He is questionable coming into this week. And Michael Mayer, it feels like they're going to try to get him some more work. This past week, the coaches kind of talked about at their press conferences, Michael Mayer becoming a little bit more introduced in his role at the tight end position, got knocked around a little bit at the beginning of the year, but really feel like he's starting to get a handle on it. We'll see what he can do potentially this week going up against Minnesota. Well, headliners, there you have it. My top 18 tight ends. Honestly, like I said, a lot of question marks this week. So if you're not really seeing anybody that you feel comfortable with, you're probably not the only one out there. And hopefully you've got one of those guys inside the top 6 that you can feel a little bit better about. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, though. Appreciate everybody tuning into the videos all week long. I'll see you Saturday night on the live show. Make sure you get those lineups set and enjoy Thursday Night Football as best as you can, because I tell you what, I don't think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. But I'm going to get out of here. Peace out, Headliner Nation. Stay safe and stay healthy, and I'll catch you all on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.